Last but not least is going to be right triangle trigonometry. Now, this is different because when the Pythagorean theorem, if you want to think about this, Pythagorean theorem only has to do with the three sides. Trig has to do with three sides and the three angles. So a lot of times when we get into a triangle situation where it's a right triangle, we're dealing with the angles and the triangles and everything that kind of goes in between. Now, angles A and angle B are the acute angles of triangle ABC. And when we're dealing with right triangle trigonometry, we're dealing with primarily the acute angles. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to kind of set up these for you, and we're going to start doing example after example after example tomorrow. We're going to do a lot of work tomorrow, and believe it or not, there's going to be a lot more work in class than you're ever going to get as homework. Which is why I say you do the work in class and you're not sleeping and you're taking notes and you're doing all that, you're going to be doing good. If you are putting your head down and doing all that kind of stuff, I reserve the right to have participation grades and all that type of stuff. And if you're not participating, I can take that out of that. And I'll tell you when I'm going to be talking about participation grades. But you should always assume that that's going to happen. Now, our focus is always going to be the acute angles. Now, it doesn't matter which one we're dealing with. I'm going to talk about angle A right here. This is for angle A. What do we call this side? I'm going to give you two choices: adjacent or three choices: adjacent, opposite, or hypotenuse. Opposite. Well, which one's the hypotenuse? All right, that one's the opposite. So, what side? Is it AC, CB, or AB is the hypotenuse? All right, so there's your hypotenuse. And so this guy is going to be your adjacent side. And that's always going to be the side right next to it. So AC is that, and AB is we'll call that H. O is for opposite. So this guy's opposite, this guy's adjacent, and this guy is hypotenuse. Now, the sine of angle A. Do you guys remember what the sine of angle A is? It's a ratio of sides, and all these are sines, cosine. Where if you get a sine, a cosine, or a tangent, just remember that that is just two of the sides divided by each other. And it happens that as long as these angles are the same, if you take the side values and divide them, you're always going to get the same answers. Now the sine is going to be opposite side divided by the hypotenuse, which is O over H. So now the cosine of A, I'll give you a hint, the hypotenuse is in the denominator. If the opposite side was in for the sine, what do you think is in for the cosine? Yep. The adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Then there's the tangent of A, which is actually the sine of A divided by the cosine of A. Which is opposite over adjacent. So, for any triangle that you have, as long as you can take the acute triangle, figure out what side is opposite, what side is adjacent, what side is hypotenuse, you can use sine A is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine A is adjacent over hypotenuse, and the tangent of A is opposite over adjacent.